Tonight, new concerns about more cases of COVID-19 among younger people. The Cleveland Health Department reports 17 new cases in Cleveland, bringing the city's total to 181. 2 people have died. And none of the new cases tonight involve the elderly. They are men and women in their 20s to 60s. Meanwhile, there are more than 3,700 confirmed cases statewide, and the number of people who have died in Ohio has now surpassed 100. And another inmate has died at the Elkton prison near Youngstown, bringing the total number of deaths there to 3. There are 7 confirmed cases among inmates at Elkton, and 2 staff members also tested positive. Officials say another 80 prisoners are showing symptoms but have not been tested because of a shortage of test kits.